California for middle school.
Our family moved into Romeoville in 58. Yeah, 58. And I am the oldest of 6. So my brother and I, we went to Valley View Elementary School. And that is where Mitchem Early Childhood is right now. And that was the only school. So I want to say it was K through 8, but I'm not real certain on that one. So we were there for several years until Parkview was built, which is R.C. Hill. And then that became the elementary school. So then Valley View was middle school, and my brother and I were there for 6th through 8th grade. And then my 8th grade class, I think it was, 1966, was the last class to graduate from Valley View when Westview opened up, which is now Martinez. So then he went over there, and I went to Lockport West, which is now our RHS. And then it just progressed after that, because then next was Iron King after Martinez, and then the Bolingbroke schools were after that.
When you look for a job now, you go to a website, you fill out an online application. But in 1972, when you decided to come to work for Valley View, what was the application process?
Fill out a paper application, then you get interviewed. I don't remember who interviewed me, if it was the school or the administration center. And then I went to Westview, and I was in the math science area. Basically science, but math science area, and my job was to help kids, help the teacher, grading papers. And in science, I helped my science teacher with dissection, because back then they were still doing dissection of the frog, which was quite funny with the kids, and stuff like that. But we were doing the academics. They weren't just special ed aides, they were in the academics, like math, science, English, social studies. We all had aides in those areas back then.
At one time, students in this district were doing dissections on live frogs.
You had to knock them out with chloroform, and they watched all their organs and how they breathe, and all the gills and stuff like that. And then the teacher would take them somewhere and release them. So,
okay.
Which is funny, because when you're doing chloroform all day, you're kind of like, oh, okay, it's time to get some air.
I guess that falls under the category of things that used to happen in our schools that we'd never, ever do. I mean, live frogs?
Yeah, live frogs. And I worked with a science teacher. We became very good friends. He's retired and moved it on. But they would ship them. We thought they would be shipped in containers, separate containers. So we opened the box thinking that they were all in little containers. No, they shipped them in a box, and then we had frogs everywhere in the science lab. And we're chasing them. I've never laughed so hard in my life. And we're like, oh my God. It was so funny.
Any discussion about the long history of this district is not complete without talking about 45-15, when the students would go to school for 45 days and then be off for 15. Just explain logistically how that was able to work.
When I was at BJ Ward, when we did scheduling, we used to have to go in a room, because I would help the principal with the course master and the AP. And back then we used IBM cards, and I'm not joking. And you had so many IBM cards, because each kid had so many for the subjects. And you would sort them out by the subjects, by the course master, all on the table. You don't let anybody come in. You don't turn on the fan. You don't open a window, because if they got messed up, we were in big trouble. And then after that, we would rubber band them, and then I would drive them down to Lewis University. Lewis University used to run our schedules, and then they would run all our reports on that green bar paper, on that big green bar, and then I'd go pick them up, bring them back to Ward, and then we'd hand them out. But 45-15, you had 2 weeks between, 2 to 3 weeks between end of years. So that we couldn't get the schedules that fast, so we ran schedules on mimeograph machines and handed them out to the kids, and then they got the proper schedule card after we would pick them up from Lewis University. So that was always interesting. But the mimeograph machine I don't miss, because when it would break down, it is a messy machine. There were many a top I ruined on that mimeograph machine.
One of your compatriots told me, make sure you ask Rachel about how she uses the mouse. You use the mouse upside down. How did that come about, and how do you make that work?
I say, you guys are all wrong. And it doesn't feel comfortable doing it the other way. It really doesn't. I feel very comfortable doing it that way. It works for me. I mean, my own family thinks I'm crazy because of the way I use the mouse, and it's just the way that's just the way I am. Nobody taught me that way. I even had tech department years ago. It was a young tech guy. He was just like, "Are you kidding me?" He sent me a thing in interschool or in the email, a practice test to use the mouse the other way. I said, "Sorry, I can't do it. It's just not comfortable. I just feel comfortable that way."
Can you take us back to the day that for the first time a computer got plopped on your desk?
Oh, geez, well, I was excited, that's for sure, because I'll tell you, I mean, the typewriter was okay, and there are days, even now, you'd like to have the typewriter back, but it's so much easier with the computer. I mean, you can save your work. It's so much easier if you make a mistake. When you're doing typewriting, it's just like, oh, you got to use that strip or the whiteout, or you have to start all over. My first boss I had at BJ Ward did his doctorate, and I typed it for him on the typewriter. I'm like, oh my God. So to me, computers were really nice to have.
The 102nd General Assembly of the Illinois Senate recognizes Rachel Wallace from Humphrey Middle School, our administrative assistant, for your 50 years of service at Valley View School District. You have made a lasting impact on thousands of students and staff members through the years. We thank you for your commitment to education. So I want to hand this to you.
Thank you.
And as an educator, thank you.
I've been very fortunate. I have to say that I've worked with very, very good bosses, very good bosses. Very easy to work with. We've great relationships with all my bosses. I've been very fortunate with my staff in all three buildings. But I'm a people person, so I just don't get uptight about a lot of things. And you're going to always run into some, but I have to say, I've worked with very good staff in every building. It's like your work family. You have your family, then you have your work family. And always very caring, not only about the students, but about each other, which I like. That's probably why I've worked so long, because I know everybody's so nice.